What's up, Reds? Listen, something absolutely mental is happening at the City Ground right now. And I'm not talking about your average transfer window madness. I'm talking about seismic shifts that are going to change everything you think you know about this football club. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are conversations happening behind closed doors that involve some of the biggest names in world football. And Forest, our beloved Forest, is right at the bloody center of it all. We've got Pep Guardiola himself making admissions that'll make your jaw drop. We've got rejected bids that'll make you question everything. We got our own gaffer absolutely losing his mind at the board. We've got deals worth more money than most clubs see in a lifetime. And we've got a Brazilian superstar who's causing absolute chaos across Europe just to get back to England. But here's the thing that's driving me absolutely mad. Most Forest fans have no clue what's really happening right now. They're going about their day, probably moaning about the weather or wondering if we'll get relegated again, while the biggest transfer earthquake in our recent history is literally shaking the foundations of the Premier League. Do you remember that feeling when we got promoted? That electric buzz in the air when everything seemed possible? Well, multiply that by 10, add some controversy, throw in some world-class drama, and you're getting close to what's unfolding right this second. And if you're a true Red, if you bleed Forest red and you want to know exactly what's going to make or break our season before it even starts, then you better smash that subscribe button right now, because loyalty to this channel is loyalty to the club, and we need every single one of you on this journey. Trust me, what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see our transfer strategy, our managers' frustrations, and our genuine chances of European success this season. The first bombshell involves a player that Pep Guardiola desperately wanted to keep at Manchester City, but something happened that forced his hand. Picture this scene. It's a press conference at the Etihad Stadium. Cameras rolling, journalists scribbling notes, and suddenly Pep Guardiola, the man who's won everything there is to win in football, the tactical genius who's revolutionized the Premier League, starts talking about a player he's just lost. But this isn't just any player, and this isn't just any admission. The Spaniard's voice carries a weight of genuine regret as he talks about a talent so special that even with all of Manchester City's resources, all their world-class options, all their depth, he still didn't want to let this lad go. I'd love to have Maka with me, Guardiola says, and you can hear the frustration seeping through every word. This is the same manager who shipped out players worth hundreds of millions without batting an eyelid. But here he is publicly admitting he wanted to keep James McAtee. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you heard Pep Guardiola express genuine regret about losing a player to another Premier League club? When was the last time he called a departing player by a nickname with such obvious affection? The answer is almost never, which tells you everything you need to know about what Forest have just pulled off. McAtee isn't just another promising youngster looking for game time. This is a player that the best manager in the world rates so highly that he told Cheeky Begiristain, City's director of football, that he didn't want him sold or loaned out just last summer. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Guardiola admits the brutal truth that's haunting every big club right now. We have too many players and he wanted more minutes. Hey, it's the classic modern football dilemma, isn't it? You've got all this talent, all this depth, but you can't give everyone the opportunities they deserve. And McAtee, this 22-year-old midfielder who Guardiola says had the potential to be with us, yes or yes, made the brave decision to leave the comfort and prestige of Manchester City for the unknown challenges of Nottingham Forest. Can you imagine the conversation between McAtee and his agent? Can you picture him walking into Guardiola's office and telling one of the greatest managers of all time that he's leaving? The balls on this kid are absolutely massive. But here's what's really going to excite you as a Forest fan. Guardiola doesn't just rate McAtee's potential, he rates his current ability. Maka had the potential to be with us, he says, using present tense, meaning right now, today, this very moment, McAtee is good enough to play for Manchester City, and now he's ours. Now he's going to line up alongside Morgan Gibbs-White in a Forest shirt, bringing that City DNA, that Guardiola training, that championship mentality to the City ground. The prospect of Gibbs-White and McAtee creating magic together should have every Forest fan absolutely buzzing with excitement. But here's the thing that's really going to blow your mind about our transfer business. Sometimes in football, rejection tells you more about a club's ambitions than acceptance ever could. And what happened with VfB Stuttgart and Jamie Lewelling is going to make you see Nottingham Forest transfer strategy in a completely different light. Picture the scene in Stuttgart's boardroom. There's a fax machine buzzing, emails pinging, phones ringing off the hook, because Nottingham Forest have just submitted an offer that would make most Bundesliga clubs stop everything and seriously consider their options. We're talking about a $25 million bid here, with $20 million guaranteed and another $5 million in bonuses that would be triggered by various performance milestones. For a player who cost Stuttgart just $5 million from Union Berlin barely a year ago, this represents a quintupling of their investment, the kind of profit margin that makes accountants weep with joy. But Stuttgart said no. They looked at that mountain of money, they considered the financial benefits, they probably had heated discussions in their boardroom, and they still said absolutely not. Jamie Lewelling is staying put, and their reasoning tells you everything about what kind of player we were trying to sign. This isn't some squad filler or backup option we were chasing. This is a 24-year-old German international who scored on his national team debut, a player who netted 5 goals and provided 7 assists in 36 appearances last season, including 2 Champions League goals that helped Stuttgart reach Europe's elite competition. When a club can afford to turn down $25 million for a player they bought for $5 million, it means one of two things. Either they're absolutely loaded, or they genuinely believe this player is irreplaceable. Stuttgart aren't exactly swimming in oil money like some clubs, so it's definitely the latter. They're convinced that Lewelling is worth more to them on the pitch than $25 million in their bank account, which should tell you just how highly they rate his abilities and his importance to their system. But here's what's really interesting about this whole situation. Florian Plettenberg, one of the most reliable transfer journalists in Germany, reports that Forest aren't planning to submit a new bid. We've made our offer, Stuttgart have rejected it, and we're moving on. No desperate second attempt, no panic bidding, no scrambling to find extra millions to change their minds. That's the behavior of a club with multiple options, multiple targets, and a clear strategy. It's the behavior of a club that knows exactly what it's doing in the transfer market. And think about this for a moment. We just casually submitted a $25 million bid for a German international winger like it was nothing. A few years ago, that would have been our entire transfer budget for a summer window. Now it's just another bid that we can afford to walk away from when it doesn't work out. The transformation in our financial position and our ambitions is absolutely staggering. Stuttgart can keep their player, but the fact that we were even in the conversation for a Champions League scoring German international shows just how far we've come as a football club. But if you think that rejected bid tells the whole story of our transfer window frustrations, wait until you hear what our own manager has been saying behind closed doors. Sometimes a manager reaches breaking point. And when Nuno Espirito Santo finally let loose about Nottingham Forest's transfer strategy, it was like watching a pressure cooker explode after months of building tension. This wasn't just a casual comment in a press conference or a throwaway line to a journalist. This was a full-scale verbal assault on the way our club has been handling this crucial transfer window. And the timing couldn't be more dramatic. We're talking about a manager who guided us to a 7th place finish last season, who took us back to European competition for the first time in 3 decades, who transformed this club from relegation battlers into genuine European contenders, and he's absolutely furious with what he's seeing from the boardroom. Dealing with doubts is the worst thing that can happen in football, he said, and you could practically hear the frustration dripping from every word. We don't know who will be here and when these players will arrive. Can you imagine the pressure this man is under right now? He's got a squad that needs reinforcing. He's got European competition to prepare for. He's got expectations higher than they've been in decades. And he's sitting there not knowing whether his key targets will actually materialize or whether he'll be left scrambling for backup options in the final days of the window. This is a manager who's used to working with clear plans and defined structures, and suddenly he's dealing with uncertainty at every turn. The preseason results tell their own story, don't they? Not a single victory, just 1 goal scored across all their friendlies. Numbers that would make any manager wake up in cold sweats. But Nuno Espirito Santo isn't blaming the players or making excuses about fitness levels or tactical adjustments. He's pointing directly at the transfer strategy and saying, oh, this is what happens when you don't get your business done early. He's essentially telling the board that their slow, methodical approach is actively harming the team's preparation for what could be the most important season in recent Forest history. And here's what makes his criticism even more pointed. He specifically mentioned that the team needs at least 4 more signings: a goalkeeper, a fullback, a winger, and another forward. He's not being vague or diplomatic about it. He's giving the board a shopping list and telling them to get it sorted, because right now as it stands, this squad isn't ready for the challenges ahead. The $100 million spending spree that everyone's talking about. It needs to happen, and it needs to happen fast. Igor Jesus, Haya Cunha, Dandoye, and Angus Gunn have already arrived, but Nuno's message is crystal clear. It's not enough, not nearly enough. You can almost picture him in team meetings, trying to motivate players while knowing that half the tactics he wants to implement depend on signings that might not materialize. You can imagine him planning for European nights at the City Ground while wondering if he'll have the depth to compete on multiple fronts. The sale of Anthony Elanga to Newcastle for $55 million was brilliant business, but it also created another hole that needs filling. Morgan Gibbs-White's contract renewal was fantastic news, but it doesn't solve the fundamental squad balance issues that are keeping the manager awake at night. This is a critical moment for the club, and Nuno's public frustration is essentially a challenge to the ownership. Back me properly or watch this incredible opportunity slip through our fingers. But speaking of signings that are actually happening, wait until you hear about the deal that's got Arsenal fans absolutely raging. Imagine being an Arsenal fan right now, scrolling through social media, and suddenly seeing news that makes you question everything you thought you knew about your club's transfer strategy. Nottingham Forest have just agreed a $37.5 million deal for Omari Hutchinson, and the reaction from Gunner supporters is absolutely priceless. Ipswich Town have just agreed to sell Omari Hutchinson for $37.5 million, one Arsenal fan wrote, and you can practically feel the pain in every character. It's a higher fee than any sale in the history of Arsenal Football Club. They're in the Championship. We're the worst club on the planet when it comes to selling. Can you believe that? Arsenal, one of the biggest clubs in world football, a team that spent decades in the Champions League, a club with a global fan base and unlimited resources, and their record sale is still Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to Liverpool for $35 million back in 2017. Meanwhile, Ipswich Bloody Town, fresh out of League One and playing in the Championship, have just sold a player for more money than Arsenal have ever received in a single transfer. The irony is absolutely delicious, isn't it? But here's where it gets even better. The same Arsenal fans are pointing out that Edu Gaspar, who was Arsenal's technical director when they let Hutchinson go for just $3 million, is now working his magic at Forest and paying $37.5 million to bring the same player back. Make of that what you will, the fan concluded with a crying emoji. And honestly, you don't need to make much of it because the story tells itself. Arsenal developed Hutchinson through their academy, watched him blossom into a serious talent, then let him walk away for peanuts. Now Forest, under Edu's guidance, are prepared to pay more than 10 times that amount to secure his services. It's either brilliant long-term planning or the most expensive mistake in recent memory, depending on your perspective. For Forest fans, this signing represents something much bigger than just adding another talented winger to the squad. Hutchinson is 21 years old. He's an England under-21 international. He's got pace, skill, and the kind of versatility that modern football demands. He can play across the front line, he's comfortable cutting inside from wide positions, and he's got the technical ability to create chances in tight spaces. But more importantly, he's got the mentality of someone who's had to prove himself at every level. This isn't a player who's been handed opportunities on a silver platter. This is someone who's fought his way through Arsenal's academy, made tough decisions about his career path, and consistently delivered when given the chance. The $37.5 million fee might seem steep for a championship player, But when you consider that Forest are also closing in on a $26 million deal for Arnaud Kalimwendo from Rennes and finalizing a $30 million package for James McAtee from Manchester City, you realize this is part of a much bigger picture. We're not just signing individual players, we're building a squad capable of competing on multiple fronts, and every signing is carefully chosen to fit into Nuno's system and the club's long-term vision. Dan Doye from Bologna for $34 million, the Brazilian duo Igor Jesus and Jair Cunha for a combined $27 million, and now Hutchinson for $37.5 million. These aren't desperate panic buys or opportunistic signings. This is methodical squad building with serious money backing serious ambitions. But if you think the Hutchinson deal is impressive, wait until you hear about the player who's causing absolute chaos across Europe just to join our project. Close your eyes and imagine this scenario. You're Douglas Luiz. You're sitting in Turin. You're supposed to be preparing for another season with Juventus, one of the biggest clubs in world football. And instead, you're planning your escape route back to the Premier League. Because you know deep in your heart that Nottingham Forest represents something special. This isn't just another transfer story. This is a statement about what our club has become and where we're heading. Douglas Luiz has reportedly agreed personal terms with Forest, and the fact that he's willing to force a move from Juventus to join our project tells you everything about the pull this club now has. Think about the journey this man has been on. 5 successful seasons at Aston Villa, where he became a fan favorite and one of the most consistent performers in the Premier League, then a massive $51.5 million move to Juventus, where things simply didn't work out as planned. Only 6 starts in 27 appearances, no goals, no assists, and clearly no happiness. He's been fined $120,000 for not reporting to preseason training. He's been criticized by club officials, and it's obvious that his time in Italy has been nothing short of a disaster. But here's what makes this potential signing absolutely incredible. He's choosing Forest over potentially staying and fighting for his place at Juventus, over other Premier League options that might emerge, over the comfort of returning to Aston Villa where he was loved. He's choosing to be part of something new, something ambitious, something that could define the next chapter of his career. Fabrizio Romano, the most reliable transfer journalist in the world, is reporting that talks between Forest and Juventus are accelerating. And when Romano tweets with those green circles and tree emojis, you know something serious is happening. The fact that Juventus are actively looking to replace him with Matt O'Reilly shows they're already planning for life without the Brazilian, which should make negotiations smoother for Forest. Can you imagine Douglas Luiz lining up alongside James McAtee, Omari Hutchinson, and Morgan Gibbs-White in a Forest midfield? Can you picture him bringing his Premier League experience, his technical ability, his understanding of English football to a squad that's already buzzing with new signings and renewed ambition? This isn't just about adding quality to the team. This is about sending a message to every other club in the league that Forest mean business. When you can convince a player to force his way out of Juventus to join your project, when you can make a Brazilian international choose the city ground over staying in one of Europe's biggest leagues, you know you're doing something right. The transformation of this club over the past few seasons has been nothing short of miraculous. But this summer's transfer activity is taking things to a completely different level. We're talking about a potential $100 million spending spree that includes established internationals, promising youngsters, and players who've proven themselves at the highest level. This isn't fantasy football anymore. This is real life, and it's happening at our club. But here's what I want you to think about as we wrap up today's video. All of these signings, all of this investment, all of this ambition means absolutely nothing if we don't back the team when it matters. Every single one of you watching this needs to get down to the city ground this season, needs to create an atmosphere that these new players will never forget, needs to show them why choosing Forest was the best decision they could have made. If you've enjoyed learning about these incredible developments, if you want to stay ahead of every Forest story before it breaks, then smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell, because we're entering the most exciting period in this club's recent history, and you don't want to miss a single moment of what's coming next. But before you go, I need to ask you this. Which of these potential signings excites you the most? And what do you think our realistic chances are of European success this season? Let me know in the comments. and I'll see you in the next video where we'll be breaking down exactly how these new signings will fit into Nuno's tactical system.